What is going on, guys? It's Nick from Surfcast in the Island, back at you with another video. Today's topic of discussion is going to be a continuation based upon a previous video which I made regarding the Staal VSX2 anticipation. I bet you guys can imagine what this video is going to be. It's going to be based upon, an annual review and test run of these reels and, on different outfits for different applications, so on and so forth. But as a whole, the company did it again. Craig over at Staal laid the foundation for the next generation of reels. Could not be happier with these reels. A reel that was great, he made greater in certain ways, in my opinion. Other people may digress. You're always going to have a contrary opinion based upon someone. That's why they're called opinions. But overall, all in all, great reels for what it's worth and what they do. You're always going to have someone else say, you can have people tell you what, they want, how they want it, but you can't get past, speaking cold hard facts about this reel can just withstand abuse. The durability of these reels, and again, I've had extensive experience with many other reels outside of this company, all along the spectrum of Abu Garcia, Daiwa, Shimano, Penn, Accurate. I mean, list goes on, but not a single one of these other companies could hold a single candle to what one of these reels can do. But I'm going to get into further in the video of certain nuances, certain things, what they added, what they improved on, what I like, what I don't like, if there is anything that comes to mind, which is very hard with these reels. But as a whole, let's get into it. Okay, so cutting to the chase now. For those of you who don't know my channel, or don't know Staal or what Staal is about material-wise, they're pretty much based upon the foundational factor of machined and sealed. Full aluminum body on these guys, minimal water. Can get in these in the most extreme of conditions because of the sealings and the design of how they're sealed. So some improvements they've made, to my knowledge, I'll start with aesthetically and also practically, by picking up the X2. The original VSXs and the Americanized ones had a cup, so every time you'd pull on and turn the handle, obviously they still oscillate, but the spool itself will oscillate up and down in this cup, and a lot of times you take a big heavy wave, a heavy soak. At least I've found one of the issues and complaints I've had with the older models is that sand would get stuck where the cup actually meets the tip of the spool, the circumference around the spool, and that would cause it to lock up and jam. That was one issue, and they got rid of it, which was great. Love it. Feeding off of that, the bottom of the rotor, they added additional porting. I don't know if you guys could see that, but the bottom of the spool here, or below the spool, excuse me, is drilled out. Not only for the purposes of drainage, but also for the purposes of minimizing weight and payload on your reel, rod reel combo. So much lighter in your hand, you can fish it all day. Great, love it. Aluminum's not the lightest materials either, so that's another thing to take into account, and obviously what the company as a whole took into account. So right off the bat, that's another improvement. The older VS's as well came with a stock small nub handle, as well as your standardized power knob, which was much smaller than the new one that they implemented on all the new models. Again, just simply an upgrade. You know, there's no other two ways to put of it. You know, the power knob and the drag knob, both being bigger, in my opinion, creates more surface area. I'm a big guy, I got big hands. Another issue I have with the smaller, not the small, but the older reels was the smaller knob, I should say. After a couple fish, you know, your hand gets wet or slippery, you go to set the hook and start cranking. Sometimes my hand would fall off, might even lose the fish. Again, the older models also, you could have upgraded them with a power oval knob or anything of that nature, but these come stock with it, which is very, very nice. Again, nothing to complain about because it's simply just an improvement to a great reel to begin with. In terms of the gearbox, the original VS's had 3 screws below, or within, I should say, excuse me, that would connect the foot of the reel to the actual body gearing of the reel. What they did with the X2 series is they made a unibody design, so not only was it less parts, which means less failures, it also gave it a more aerodynamic and rigid design, which also in turn goes back to the porting. It cuts down on weight. Well, what else is there? Oh, the anti-reverse was another thing that they improved on big time. They moved that facet of the gearing to the pinion, so you have little to no back play in the rotor anymore. That was an issue where you'd have back play in the rotor. I'm pushing against it pretty good right now, and it's not moving. Not that much. It's very rigid. You'll feel that when you hook up on your first couple fish and how firm and you know, how stiff and how great of a reel it feels right out of the box. Yeah, this is a VSX2 100 for example, in black. Yeah, I believe they changed the gear ratio on these. The original 100s, I believe, had somewhere in the ballpark of 27 inches per turn. They bumped that up to, I believe, 33 or 33 and a half per turn. So you could, not that I didn't do it already, but definitely suitable for a 9-footer, a light 9-footer, maybe even a 9.5 in certain instances. Again, the foundational aspect of the 150, 200, 250, I believe they kept those gear ratios the same. They didn't change those. I think 4.5, or I think 4, I think it says on the box here, 4:3 to 1 is the 200, for example, and the 100's 5:4 to 1. Oh, excuse me, 34 inches per turn for the 100, and 34 inches per turn for the 200. Wow, so that's surprising. You could have 2 different size classes of reels and have the same exact inches per turn. Good thing I checked myself on that. I didn't think they actually had the had those specs on the box. Should have checked before I checked myself, should you say, but close enough. But yeah, great little reel. I have this spooled with 20-pound test, Suffix 832 camo. Yeah, all my 100s I have, since I have multiple ones. 20 is perfect. I tended to use this. Um, Back bays a little. I used it on the beachfront for schoolies a lot this year as well as last year. And it just held up great. I had one little hiccup with it. Wasn't the end of the world. There's a minor sealing issue in it, and I got it covered under warranty for free. But ever since then, uh, no issues at all. Zero. Just performs just like the X series, and I'm sure I don't have many at all, but I'm sure it performs just like the Americanized, and even better and beyond. But super smooth drag too. The drag is a lot smoother than that of its predecessors. That was a big improvement. The best I could compare this drag system to is, think of pretty much if you've handled one of Staal VR series, that caliber of a reel, in terms of how smooth the drag is. But imagine it if the VR had more sealing. So it's pretty much a VR with better sealing. Um, that's the best way I can compare it, because a VR doesn't have a cup as well. Um, Recommendations for size rod. Um, this 100, anywhere from, I'd say, an 8-footer all the way up to a 9.5. I currently have this pair in my 9-foot Evolution. That's probably not going to change as much. If I wanted to bump it up a little more, I'd probably put it on my 9.6 Genesis. I interchange them every now and then, depending on where I'm fishing and what I'm doing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's take a look at the 200. I used the 200 pretty much in some similar applications, but mostly this is a beachfront inlet reel for me. Don't really have many places where I'm going to need a reel this big when I'm fishing the back. I typically don't go anything over a 100. 150 is even kind of big for me for my back base spots, but 200 is great anywhere along the south shore of Long Island, in terms of inlets and fishing the beachfront for that matter. Um, so yeah, I got this one a little bit later than the 100. The 100 I had a little bit more play with, but I liked it so much I got a couple other X2s to pair up, because, why not? These things are great. I love them. But this one I believe I have spooled with 40 pounds super slick. I like to go in that range. I'm throwing bigger plugs, bottle plugs, darters, needlefish, big pencils, as opposed to my 100 where it's a lot of SP minnows, mag darters, swim baits, stuff of smaller nature. But yeah, whatever I spoke about in the 100, I mean, it remains the same. It's the same build between the gearing, coming with your power handle, your power, drag knob, the porting, everything remains the same. It's silver though. That's the only obvious difference is the color. But again, I love these reels. And to my knowledge, these aren't even the newest ones. I didn't get my hand on them. I'm probably not going to get my hand on them because I have too many at this point. But they came out the X2F, which is the fast series. They bumped up the gear ratio, and to my knowledge, that was pretty much the only improvement. So I guess, in theory, with the 100 fast, you could put on a light 10-footer if you really wanted to. I know there's some rods like the Suzuki Special, which make really long rods, by Black Hole, which are long but very light for that matter. And that's another misconception, I should say. because just because the length of the rod is longer doesn't necessarily mean it has more power than a rod that's shorter than its counterpart. The perfect example for that, not to get too off topic, but yeah, my Lamiglass GSB 9-footer, I have a 108 1M from the 90s. And if I put that up against my 10-foot ODM Evo, they simply just don't have the same amount of backbone. The 9-footer is like a broomstick compared to the 10. The 10 is a little more like a noodle, but I love both rods for what I use them for and what it's worth. But that's pretty much it. I mean, if I was going to look at this reel and recommend it to you guys to buy, I don't know. I just feel like there's nothing better on the market I could recommend. And on this note as well, I have no sponsorships, endorsements, behind closed door interests for that matter with this company. I am not getting paid in any which way off my word and off the company's word. So whatever I say and whatever I have recommended in this video is, you know, based upon my experience. I have nothing to benefit from telling you how good this reel is, because I put in a lot of honest work out there, and all I could say is you get what you pay for. I can't speak on the behalf of Z-Bass. I'm sure they're just as great as these reels. But again, I'm not gonna start opening my mouth about a company I don't know about. Even though I have heard great things about them, I just never got around to using them for whatever reason. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to give a, you know, yearly input based upon how these reels performed. Super impressed with them, super impressed with the customer service, and the minor issues that I did have with these reels, they were able to be solved, and Godspeed. So without further ado, this is Nick from Surfcast in the Island. If you liked the video, I hope you did. Please like, comment, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on Instagram. We're active. So talk to you guys soon.